Doing that.
Good afternoon, beautiful people. Welcome to another episode of Kiko's Free Thinkers Forum. This is episode 114, and I present to you a very special guest. He's a familiar guest. You all, if you don't know him now, you do know him now. His name is Gavin Bonney, and he is a presidential candidate. He's running for office of the President of the United States as an independent out of the state of Oregon. And Gavin has already been on that forum a couple of times. He was on episode 37, featured as the primary guest, episode 68. And he was also a part of our presidential forum, our first presidential forum, the first of its kind. And that technically didn't have a number associated with it. But if you want to look for it in the archives, it would be episode 82, sandwiched in between the Spike Cohen episode and another one. So it's on that first presidential forum, episode 82. He was one of the participants of that event that we had. It was very successful. And this is technically his fourth time on the show for this episode 114. And we just want to say welcome back to the show, Mr. Bonney. And we can't wait to hear some of your ideas and you share some of your ideas with the larger public.
Yeah, thanks for having me back. It's pretty cool that somebody wants to talk to me. So, and I'm willing to share.
I was thinking about you a lot lately because it was brought to my attention that another presidential candidate is actually, oddly enough, from the same state that you are, Brittany Jones, brought this up to me. She told me that there's a site that's specifically geared towards independent candidates. It's called goodparty.org. And that site is used to help independent candidates get into public office. Right now, it's only at the state level, but she says that it's something that's noteworthy enough to look into if you're running outside of the two parties, just for volunteers, for fundraising possibilities, just all different types of sources and tools that you may need. I will link that in the episode description, goodparty.org, and it's specifically geared towards independent candidates and even for visibility purposes. But I was going to ask, before we get started with this conversation with Mr. Gavin Bonney, again, unaffiliated, not really. He identifies more as an independent. We talked about that a lot in episode 37. So again, go back and watch those previous episodes to kind of get caught up so we're not doing the same things over again, 37 and 68 in particular. I want to give a slight ad and just say thanks for all the viewers of Kiko's Free Thinkers Forum. We are highly successful right now. We've had a few donations lately. I don't ask for donations personally, but I'm not going to reject the money. Obviously, I'm going to say no to people wanting to send that money to me. But at the same time, I just want to say the best way to support this channel is to subscribe to us for free, share the videos, and tell your friends and family. If someone asks me, how can I help you out, Kiko? That's the easiest thing. I don't want your money personally. I just want you to subscribe for free, share your the videos with your friends and family, your interested friends and family. You're not going to agree with everything on this forum. We have some shows that may not be to everyone's liking, and that's totally fine. We knew that going into the independent media space, we were going to go through a lot of headwinds, a lot of resistance. But at the end of the day, if you want different views to be shared, you have to be a little bit more confident, a little bit brave into expressing those views. And again, they're not always popular views, but I don't want to copycat and parrot other people's views. This is a unique forum with unique guests on, and you're not going to find these types of opinions and ideas and honestly, information expertise on other platforms, because we do have not just people run for public office, but we also have professors, we have working people, we have activists, different types of people come onto the show. So we're not really pigeonholed and labeled as one particular ideology. We really are across the board. And we want it to be that way. We want to reach across the board. We haven't had as many conservative-minded individuals on, but that will be coming soon with some of the people that we have coming on in the month of May. We try to send the invites to people who will accept the invitations. We can't make people accept invitations if they don't want to accept the invitations. And just one more thing to add, we have about 40 to 42% of our audience outside of the United States. This is a truly international forum. And we always wanted it to be that way. Global perspectives, national perspectives, and local perspectives represented and exemplified on Kiko's Free Thinkers Forum. So again, just tell your friends and family, subscribe for free. It doesn't cost you a dime, just a little bit of time to expand your mind. And remember, you can't unthink free thought. We want to go to Gavin Bonney now and put the attention on him now for this next hour. And I wanted to do something before he even goes into his site. He has it pulled up here, bring back my Bonnie for prez.com. I want to do a slide experiment and share the screen. And I want to see the visibility aspect of Gavin's campaign, just for instance,
Oh,
because
cool.
this has been something that has come up a lot. But if I type in Gavin Bonney, wow. So the algorithm has actually gotten a lot stronger in your favor, Gavin, because previous to this, if I typed in your name without president in it,
Yeah.
you would have maybe be on the second page. But now I
Oh, yeah.
guess the domain is stronger. You actually appear on the second line on the first page. So that's a good sign for you.
Yeah, it's Twitter too.
And it's on X. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, you pull up. This is
Oh boy.
Gavin's X site right here. And as you can see here, he has a Google. Is that a Google Doc technically, or is that an actual website now?
I got it to work. So remember how I didn't have it work and I figured out how to get it to work. I talked to the Google people and they taught me how to uh make my link work. So yeah, you can type that in. You just type in bring back my Bonnie for prez.com and and it comes up.
And that's what he has projected on his screen. So what I would do is this for the time
Cool.
being,
I don't know
I
if you
won't
guys can
share the
see it.
screen. I won't share the screen on my end. I'll just let him share it on his end because he may want to emphasize certain things in
Wait,
this
so can
conversation
I
before I
scroll on
ask
this?
my
No,
questions.
I can. Oh, you're gonna ask questions. Okay, cool.
Of course, you know that you know how this works. You've been on here enough and you've seen enough interviews to know how we do it here. I'm not gonna be the
Oh,
one talking all the time, that's for sure. No,
I,
but
I I liked that was cool because I could see the screen on my screen here.
oh, definitely, yeah, for sure. That duplicity. Always good to have some duplicity. I didn't mention this, but we have talked about this in previous episodes. Gavin has lots of views about military spending, the role of government, the function of the military. Because Gavin is a vet himself; he's a Navy vet. I wanted to highlight that because he's not the only vet that we've interviewed that's run for public office. I just wanted to make sure I highlighted that Gavin is a vet. I guess my first question for you would be for people who don't know who Gavin Bonney is, um, what would be your largest selling point to people who are saying, why should I support you for president of the United States? And why should I support Gavin Bonney? What would be, I guess, in a paragraph or a few sentences, what would be your immediate reaction to that?
uh, I'm just obscenely normal, uh, and so everything I'm gonna do is just gonna be with common sense. Everything I look at it as a government job, but the whole idea for reform is to make the government better, right? So yeah, I'm just obscenely normal.
So basically, you're just like every other person. Like
Yeah,
you have bills to pay, you have stuff to do, you have a life
yeah.
outside of this public office stuff, the campaigning and everything else. Um, and you're also not to get into your age much, but I've interviewed quite a bit of younger people run for public office, and I haven't done that on purpose. And just for people to ask me like, how am I doing this? I honestly reach out to people who have good websites with interesting ideas with the actual functioning website and people who are running for public office. And I go to Ballotpedia and I try to find independent candidates, third party people, libertarians, socialists, whoever may be running for office. And I reach out to those people. And I was impressed by Gavin Bonney's website the first time we talked around. And he also has, compared to some of the other candidates, a lot of sense of humor embedded into his site that it may go over some people's heads, honestly. But at the same time, that's part of your identity, and you're not going to change that. I mean, that's part of what makes you unique as a candidate. You're using the memes, and that kind of goes into the newer generations. And I think that that's also a good way to maybe, attract voters too, like the newer, I guess, age of the social media aspect of it.
Oh yeah, I have a personal conspiracy theory about memes being psychological warfare themselves. I think they, from what I was in the Navy. From what I can remember, memes started. in like government jobs, and people would leave. And I think it's true in like the Department of Interior and stuff too. People would leave pictures they made off Microsoft Paint. Like a lot of these are made with Microsoft Paint, right? That's kind of where that started. That's where that obscenity started. So, uh, yeah, I then they there's a way they attack your brain that I'm sure people who know a little more about psychology could totally verify. It's great. They're great. I love memes. They're wonderful
No, I
tool.
think what you said is 100% true. I think it's been scientifically proven that the memes have a psychological angle on the brain for sure. And you're right about the propaganda comment. Memes and photos in general have been used throughout history for propagandistic purposes. I think you can say a lot without quote unquote saying a lot just simply by the visuals. I
Right.
think that's why photography is so popular, or used to be very popular at one point.
Yeah, a picture's worth 1,000 words. So
Mhm.
you put a couple words on there, and then maybe that's the multiplier. So you've got 1,000 words, and then you've got like 10 more words. So you multiply that by 10. That's 10,000 words or something like that. Yeah. So
I I guess another question going along with kind of like the attraction of Gavin Bonney to like the general public as far as considering a vote for you, what would you prioritize as some of your most important issues? Just if people ask like what are three issues that you're going to stress the most in your campaign, what would be those three main issues?
hmm, has three main issues. I never really thought about it like that. Um, the biggest thing would be reform of government, and for me, the biggest reform of government starts in the military, um, and making the military part, because it's already such a big system. You don't want to disrupt it too much, bringing it back home, right? So then you've got all these jobs and things like that, right? And so transferring the military and government service in a way, in transitioning into a future where it helps the United States first, right? And you're still getting the benefits of learning all the things you learn in boot camp, all the things you learn while you're serving. You're paid that whole time you're learning all these things, and you come out and you have different certifications, so you can work and do all these other things. You have your educational benefits that you can pursue, and just make that at home instead of out in the world blowing stuff up and killing people. I mean, if you really think about war as a means of population control, we're not even producing enough war to control the population, and that goes down a pretty cynical road. But yeah, so what's the point of wasting all this time and all these resources? I mean, you want to talk about people talk about, oh, the green movement, this and that. Like, what the biggest waste of resources in the whole world is war, especially conventional war. You're just literally blowing up all these precious minerals and gases and chemicals and things like that, and you're just wasting them on killing people instead of helping people. Kind of stupid, whatever. uh so that's kind of my thing. Make the military an honorable service, and because service, you see service in a lot of different cultures and religions and whatnot, and people follow. And so the whole idea for me is to make the government about service to each other, and so that people can go in and out of serving the government, and you're not in there trying to make shady deals so that you make more money or whatever. You make enough money for what you're doing, but you get to serve everyone else, and you can go in and out of careers like that. um, and I think and that I think helps people too, when you have like things like unemployment or temporary layoffs and stuff. People can move from different industries that way if they stay within the government, and then still offer the options though to have private schools and private sector and entrepreneurs and things like that, but make the military, take all of what is good about the military, what all the recruiters get people to go and serve overseas for, make that just make that part of the government.
So that sounds it sounds America first is what it sounds like. And I
Right.
know that's a phrase they used a lot, honestly. But I think America First is a good slogan. Um, it's obviously used in different ways by different people, but I hear a lot more of that lately. We need to focus on the United States. We need to stop interfering with other people's like resources, other people's lives, other people's. I mean, literally, like you alluded to it, just like the death and the destruction, the environmental destruction, and even to the people who are talking about the green this and the green that. The military is the largest destructor of the environment. I mean, it the pollution,
We're the
everything
biggest
else.
gang, U.S. Navy gang. What's up, dude? You want to talk about the biggest gang, fraternity, sorority, whatever in the world? I mean, that's one of the biggest ones, in all the U.S. military and all the different. Because you want to also talk about just the collection of culture in the U.S. military, and that's what's unique about the United States in general. But I mean, you, you have, you have Christians working with Satanists and Islam people or Muslims and Jewish people and Buddhists and atheists and that's the U.S. military. Like it's such a mix. And so it's to me, knowing that, having experienced that, it's like, what is the U.S. military really doing anywhere if we're the country where everybody can come and just be the most, you know, their most themselves version of themselves?
It's
Done that
odd
better.
that you mentioned that because there's lots of people that I work with where they were refugees themselves, and we were part of the reason of why they became refugees in the first place. But then they fight in our military.
Yeah, a lot of people get their citizenship through the military, like
Hmm.
legitimately, and those are, you'll get some interesting opinions from people who served the country to be part of the country. Um, those are conversations you should probably have with those are individual conversations, I would say, because it's a different perspective,
I know
you know.
you've heard of Pat Tillman before, right?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I had a Pat Tillman football card in my Corvette that just got repossessed. I had it
Oh
in the glove
wow,
box.
are you
Yeah,
serious? You had
yeah.
a
So he
Pat
was
Tillman
driving.
card in your Corvette?
Yeah, yeah. I found it. I have some friends that do they buy storage units and sell the antiques and stuff. And we found a Pat Tillman card. And I was like, "Oh, that's funny." So for like 2 years Pat Tillman was riding around in my Corvette.
That is
So
crazy. Okay,
yeah.
so you're familiar with the Pat Tillman story. I'm not making a direct comparison to that, but I'm more trying to get to the place of where when you were in the Navy, actively in the Navy, what was the opinion of people that you were around when it came to just like the views of the military in general, whether it was the Coast Guard, the Marines, the Army, or the Navy? What was the view? It's kind of like viewing yourself and like what your purpose is in your job and like what are the consequences of your job. Like, do you ever think about those things and your friends and your comrades?
Um, I think that actually the time that I was in is when the era that we're kind of seeing now is starting to turn. We are starting to think about that and question that, and we are a little more well read, and because we do come from so many different places. Um, and I actually made you'd be surprised. I made a lot of friends in weird places, or they'd see the culture that I was used to, and they'd be like, "What, you honky," like, like, I'm like, "Yeah, no, dude." Like, I totally have, I'm familiar with that, like whatever. And so yeah, there's definitely, but I'm speaking for like the enlisted people, so the people that are at the bottom. There, at the top, there's a lot of politics that start to happen once you're an officer. Yes, there's still service, but then there's also, dog and pony show stuff. Because there's a lot of big money involved in the war industry. But like as far as the people that are actually doing the work, that are having, the people that are killing themselves the most, um, we're kind of like, why are we doing this sometimes? And then we're seeing a totally different side of the world. I remember in boot camp a lot, they talk about how, like, people don't necessarily like us in the Middle East the way like we see it. Like, oh, look, they're trying to go with us, and like, no, those are to them, those are the traitors that are trying to get on the plane, so that they don't get beheaded or whatever. That's just the reality of war. Um, so, and I just, for me, that seems like something when you're trying to be like the country of freedom and individuality, and this is the place that you can come and be yourself. It seems kind of ironic that it's also the place that's just mindlessly kind of killing people for money, and has this whole industry working the way it does. And you'll see in this site later that there's people in the military have always commented on this, but they're always kind of pushed to the back, or they stop making rank at a certain point, especially like with officers. And if you're enlisted, it's like, well, you're just the scum of the earth. If you really think about world on a scale of like human trafficking, the enlisted anybody that's in enlisted military is like this. That's you're the bottom of the barrel, and you're working your way up. Like you're a slave to whatever government. So you're an indentured slave. Um, that's just what it is. You know, that's the length. Anyway, but so yeah, and you get to a point like you're what? Yeah, why are we doing this? There's a lot of people that are questioning that. And it's because they come home too, because then you come home and you have a lot of people like me. I have a lot of struggles with the VA, and there's people that are hurt worse than me, that have even more struggles. And it's just because the system is just there, it's undermanned is the main thing. I mean, to say that it's underfunded is ridiculous because of the way we print money and borrow money from ourselves and send it overseas and all this stuff. So to say it's underfunded is ridiculous because you could just write a bill and print some stupid ass money and give it to your veterans. But they're not doing that, and they're making the system like, but they still want to have their little wars, right? So they still want to have their little stupid wars, but they don't want to fix the things that they broke, and that you see that in the way we use our resources too. It's kind of ridiculous, and it all goes against like the art of war. We just leave a bunch of shit, and then like they kind of pick it up and they fix it up a little different, and they get what to work they can, and then it just creates these little guerrilla factions and stuff, and then that creates more jobs for contractors, and yeah, and it's just, I mean, you really think about it, that's just litter. They're just like littering these weapons of death, and so we can come back and sell more weapons of death and kill more people, and then the cycle continues.
It's really that simple. And I can't imagine the stuff you've gone through, the stuff you've seen. And I've known you enough to just through these interviews and just off camera that I think a lot of people have like these misconceptions of you. Just I think they would see you just on the surface and be like, "Oh, he's not taking it seriously," or like he laughs a lot. But there's a lot behind that laughter. I don't think people understand that stuff because you alluded to earlier, like you've gone through like some depression, you've gone through some mental illness stuff, and but I think that's common within vets, right? Like that's pretty common.
Yeah, yeah, you get unhinged and jaded for all kinds of different reasons. So,
Hmm.
well, and it's just like perspective. For me, it was a lot of there was like it was verification, right? I got hurt early. I didn't get to do a lot of fun stuff, but I still got this like have this confirmation bias for things that I had already kind of known going in. Uh, yeah.
As far as your site is concerned, and we'll see how this goes with you, Sean, on your end, because I may just share the screen here just because my audience may have a better view of it if I share the screen on my
Yeah,
particular computer.
no, that
But
works. I was like, that works way better, and I
but
can
we may
read
do
more.
both of them. We may do both
Yeah,
duplicity, right?
yeah,
But
yeah.
I think you've added some stuff on your site because I
I
think the
did.
last I checked it,
I
I don't remember seeing the Overton window, I don't think.
Yeah, that's new. And then I did some student loans and the war page. I worked on the space race page a little bit. I was still kind of working on I wanted to add a bureaucracy page so I could kind of explain just like the whole idea of expanding government to just be the government. Um,
Okay, so that leads me to a
yeah,
question.
yeah,
Are you doing everything on your own as far as developing the information on the
yeah,
website?
yeah. No, yeah, I'm totally a dork.
So you're a
So,
so you're like a one
like,
man show.
yeah. Yep.
Do you have a vice presidential candidate in mind?
Not really. Like if I got famous, but I have friends I would ask, and that would and things like that. Or as I got famous, I would work with what is available because there's obviously a great pool of people to work with that also don't want to see the world come to an end for stupid reasons. So I'm not worried about it, to be honest. There's a I have to be seen more first and charm y'all, like hello. So
Now, I know you don't get too caught up in the categories just based on what we talked about in our first episode 37. We talked really a lot about kind of your political journey. But
yeah,
I'm curious to the audience, you seem to be more ambiguous when it comes to your views. I think compared to some of the other people I've interviewed running for public office, like Jasmine Sherman, for instance, they're
yeah,
pretty explicitly like left wing socialist. Um,
yeah.
Brittany Jones, at least to my assessment, I don't want to speak for Brittany Jones, but to me, Brittany Jones has a lot of leanings towards like what people in the Democratic Party think, but she's not running as a Democrat because she disagrees with kind of the blue to red team system, but she shares a lot of those views. I think she's center left, more or less. She's like a center left candidate. And then you have people like Cornel West, in my opinion. He's more like a social dem. He's like a Bernie Sanders type.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you have libertarians, like free market libertarians, like Mike Termott, Chase Oliver. He's a little bit different than him. Even now, he's more. He seems to be more progressive on social issues, but he's still very much a free market libertarian. But How would you identify yourself politically? Because I think you have interesting views across the board.
It's it's just a type of independent. Oh, excuse me, I had a little gas there. Um, I don't know. It's me. I don't give a shit. I'm just it's like just a little unhinged, with it. And upset because it's just things don't have to be the way they are. So
No doubt. And I think that that has a lot of appeal. Honestly, I've tried to make an effort in the recent years to get away from the labels as much because I believe that that definitely impedes people from working together. Like, no doubt. I think the simple answer is if you take away the labels and you focus on the issues, I think people are more likely to work with people. And then the
yeah.
ideology stuff kind of goes away. It doesn't completely go away, but it's not so in your face.
That's something I really like about two things that military service. That's like one of the positives about it. It was just that because of the variety, it forces everything to just kind of be like whatever. And then like the world of auto racing, you go to even a NASCAR race, if you actually go to the race and see all the people there, you're like, this is like a world-class event. Like everybody drives cars. Like holy shit. Like this is
Hmm.
American culture, really, Um, so yeah, yeah, and that's how I like cool things. Like I like I because I'm a nerd. I'm a band nerd, band geek. Like so I like seeing people being cool for what they are. So I don't have any problems like with anybody for that reason. I mean, I've had problems with people, obviously, but I'm not. I'm never looking for a fight. That's for sure. Not me. I like meeting people and talking to them, um, and being nice to them because you should be nice to people.
Yeah, I asked that because and I know that from talking to you that you seem to be pretty much like you can do what you want with your body. You can hang out with what you want to hang out, with whoever you want to. You can be who you want to be as long as you're not breaking any laws and stuff. Like that's the way it seems like based on our conversations. Because on your site, you really don't have, compared to other candidates, you really don't have any of those issues like exemplified on your site, like social issues explicitly.
Yeah,
Your stuff tends to be more focused on how to make the government better. Like I've noticed that.
because if you want to ask me about social issues, I'm gonna, from a government position, I'm gonna try and give you like, because it's funny to me to just give you that like black suit, black tie answer. Like this is what you're supposed to do. Now shut the fuck up and do it. uh, so to me, there's like a humorous side to that that type of government, that kind of man in the suit or whatever. There's you gotta have a little bit of it. Otherwise, you don't know how good it is to be wild and crazy.
I get that. No, it makes sense. And honestly, it kind of goes into like if you just do the functions, the basic functions, like that's very much I won't say that that's to the Constitution or anything, but that's very much a response where it's all about the services, providing the services. And I think by default, you're saying let people decide for themselves. Like it's kind of a libertarian stance. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm libertarian minded when it comes to that. That doesn't mean that you're like an
that's
actual.
something that I think that's one of those things that most people actually think, and the libertarians have done a good job of marketing it as their own idea. But I can tell you, as being like
Interesting.
as a Lyft and an Uber driver and all that stuff, when you talk to anybody from anywhere, like it's so much different. Like when you have a conversation like this, than when you have the mob kind of pushing you either way. Because then you have people backing up whatever fallacy that you're kind of leaning towards, right? And then once you have one, two, three, four people, they're like, oh yeah, well they think that too. So they're like, I'm gonna come over here, and then you get and this would be great to be on the Overton window. We'll get there, you know. Uh, and so then you get people like, oh well, because you said this and this, you can't like this and this, and it's like, well, yes, I can. I can tell you from being a musician, like I am that weird person that does listen to every kind of music, and it's to the point like I don't even keep track of the music I necessarily like that much anymore. Whoever's I'll just listen to the music because I'll just enjoy the music. Um, you know, but
That's interesting. The comment you made about so you believe the libertarians have kind of used that as a marketing tool. This whole idea of
well, yeah,
free this, free that.
everybody has their own propaganda, right? Like that's what my side is my propaganda, and my propaganda is kind of an absurd, like because some of the subject matter is a little bit maybe cynical. The absurdity kind of eases the burden, is the way I look at it. It's like, haha, I'm a cynical person. I laugh pain off sometimes because that works sometimes, but not all the time.
Let's take a look since you made a reference to it, the Overton Window column. Let's go to that Overton Window section and let's see how that looks to the audience. And if not, I can share the screen on my end.
Here we go. Overton window. There we go.
So tell the audience who really doesn't have any kind of familiarity with this term. What does that mean to Overton Window? What does it mean to you?
Well, this meme explains it really well. You get it right there. Okay. And then what I wrote here is at the Overton window is like the mean range of acceptable thought, right? So you've got your window, and everything is in that window, and then you have the left side of the window and the right side of the window. There's stuff outside the window, there's above the window, below the window, but everything in the window is like the mean range of acceptable thought, what they want you to think.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you manipulate it, you put shade on it this way, put shade on it that way, that way, that way. When you manipulate the light that people are seeing, the knowledge, you get basically, here's the slaughterhouse, like, oh, here's left, so that's Joe Biden right now, right? And then here's right, oh, that's, I guess, Donald Trump. The illusion of free choice. So you're gonna pick either one of these guys, and you're gonna go to the slaughterhouse.
Wow.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. And then they're just going to word it differently. And so, like, a different group of people is going to be outraged, and a different group of people is going to be trying to console them by being jerks. And, and so we're all just fighting each other instead of paying attention to this room right here. Wait, what's this room? Oh, that's the slaughterhouse. Dick.
I'm going to be honest with you. I think that this is a very important graphic because I think that there is an illusion of choice. I totally agree with that statement. That's why I'm considered an independent. I consider myself an independent. And I'll tell you something else, Gavin, is this idea. I think that the country has been hijacked because, and it comes from civics. A lot of it's basic civics. A lot of the average voter doesn't understand left ideology, right ideology. They don't know what any of this stuff means. They don't read theory on these things. Like they're simply going in and casting a vote for somebody. They don't know anything about. And I think
It's
that they've done a
it's
great
become a
job of
popularity
marketing these
contest.
people. Like how can in any world, like it's just the most frustrating thing ever talking to my friends. And I'm talking to my liberal friends, the ones who continue to watch the show. And I know a lot of you guys don't like the show, and that's totally fine. You like me, but you don't like the show. But
Weird,
as far,
because we're supposed to be the open-minded ones. Like when George Bush was president, and I was
yeah,
growing up, I was
right.
yeah,
Now
we're liberals, we're open-minded, we're
it's kind of
cool,
like
dude.
a lot of people
What
have,
happened to that?
yeah, right. Well, I think it's because it goes into what you said, the window of acceptability. I think within a certain window of acceptability, they seem more open and progressive than they really are. But when you actually test the ideas more, you realize, are they that different from the people who they claim that they don't like? Is it they're just as closed-minded in many ways because you have, oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and
It's
it's
just it's a club, like you said. It's the fact that Joe Biden is even associated with the left is pretty perturbing to me.
oh,
Um,
you look at his record from like the '80s, and it's like, dude, and like he's just part of like the Reagan everything.
of course.
Like, he's just been there. There's on one of these pages, one of them, it's him, and he's like, oh, uh the government has failed you. Joe Biden says this, and then he's like, then there's another quote of him on a stage like, I've been in the government for 49 years. Yeah, okay, sick. That tracks, man. Like let's but I was so proud of this one. I couldn't figure out a better place to put it though.
Oh well, I'm good. That's other ones you could definitely some other candidates that are competing with that picture. Let me tell you, and I'll just leave it at that. I've seen pictures of Biden touching Hillary, and Hillary was basically like, "Get away from me!" Like there's just so many candidates.
Yeah,
There's all types
I,
of memes you could put on there.
I don't know what they were actually saying, but I figured that
Hold me
uh,
closer. Oh.
yeah, I missed you. They're best friends, I'm sure. Nancy Pelosi probably really likes the casino. Yeah, and so here's the big club.
Mm-hmm. Oh
So
gosh,
that
speaking of the devil, oh gosh.
like Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, some hot classy chick. Someone probably knows who that is. I don't know.
Isn't it
George
Melania? That's
George Bush.
Melania.
Is that? They
Yeah.
haven't been married that long, have they? This. I mean, look. They still look almost youthful.
I'm pretty sure that that's Melania. I'm pretty sure that's
Wow.
Melania with Bill Clinton in that meme. I
Huh.
might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's her when she was younger.
Okay. Cool.
Hmm.
That makes sense though, because they're married.
Yeah.
And that's George Bush and Hillary Clinton. That one's one of my favorites. Um, just because those two are like definitely supposed to be polar opposites, right?
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah, like those guys would never hug each other and share tea and coking and joking. And then there's George Carlin, R.I.P. And then here's like some little motivation about voting and having the fortitude to vote independent.
Cheech and Chong, is that who that is?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh gosh, that's hilarious.
yeah.
And then
So
you
like,
have Wizard of Oz, it looks like.
yes, and this is Toto. So like the theme's Overton Window. Toto is removing the curtain from when the man. That's the scene where he's removing the curtain. There's the man behind the curtain. So that's totally the reference there. And then I just use Cheech and Chong because that's one of my favorite scenes from their movies, and I wanted to just kind of do the whole open your mind, man idea.
Hmm. Let's go.
Most
Let's go to
mostly
your
that
student
though.
loans section because we have
Okay,
about 25 minutes.
sure.
Like we're kind of
We
running
gotta see the
limited
dog
on
real quick.
time, but I want to cover some of the sections or whatever. Like make sure I get some of the sections anyway. What's
Yeah,
that?
this is Toto, and that's Balto, and that's Sergeant Stubby.
Is that the actual Toto like in real life outside of the movie?
That's it's a shot from the set, but yeah,
Oh, it's
that's
a
just a
shot from the
picture of
set.
Toto.
Okay.
That's a picture of Balto, the dog in that saved all the kids in Alaska, and that's Sergeant Stubby, who's a really decorated World War II hero.
Oh,
So
okay.
I had to do a shout out to the doggies because everybody loves dogs.
Wow. Okay.
But, oh, and then so this before we go, we'll just read this real quick. This is Noam Chomsky. This is the perfect explanation of the Overton window. The smart way to keep people passive and obedient is to strictly limit the spectrum of acceptable opinion, but allow very lively debate within that spectrum.
Mm-hmm. Very
And
true.
and I don't know if a lot of your viewers have read Manufacturing Consent. I've read
They
part of
have.
it through it, and yeah, and I've watched. I like him. He's a cool guy.
A lot of my audience, the configuration is interesting. A lot of independent minded viewers, but a lot of these people are politically, they're probably more social democratic. Like they're definitely part of the left. A lot of my viewers are, but I do have a conservative contingent. I definitely do. Um, but yeah, it's interesting. The Overton window concept is really interesting, and I think the way you showed that, I think that helps people understand the way the system is. I don't
Yeah.
think if people want to believe, I don't think people want to believe that it's as simple as you showed it there. That it's the slaughterhouse, and then you have two sides basically of thought, and then it's like they make it seem like it's just so
And that's
vastly.
something when I was serving in the Navy with Obama, that's when I kind of was like, oh, because like all in high school, they were kind of hyping us up to like not like George Bush and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
the schools tend to have always been a little liberal. That's just been
Yeah,
true. You can
definitely.
if you go back and watch a movie in the 80s, the jokes are still kind of the same kind of shots, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's so yeah, and that's what I was gonna say there. But
Okay,
um
I may have to share this. I can't really see
yeah,
that well with
yeah,
the
this one
student
doesn't have me
loans.
yet, so you'll have to share that so people can read it.
Okay, my policy for student loans is simple, and this is Gavin Bonney, his words. Every U.S. citizen should be allowed one interest-free loan upon graduating high school to pursue a secondary education. There are many caveats to this, one being an overall reform to our public education system, which sets up our citizens to be well-rounded and educated enough to join the workforce immediately after graduating high school. Another caveat being the reform of our military and government service in a way which allows people to serve the country while learning trades and skills and getting paid to do so. If implemented correctly, military and government service could absorb the unemployment system entirely. For example, if you serve directly out of high school until you make a rank of E5, then rejoin the civilian workforce, you would keep your rank as a government employee so that if you do get fired or let go or quit a job, you can simply reinstate yourself into government service and the pay grade you originally received. Make common sense policy common again. Okay, that's pretty interesting. So you're
Yeah.
using the military system as a way to make the education system more fair, I guess.
Well, yeah, and it can be government work too. So you can get the U.S. Forest Service and BLM, Bureau of Land Management, and like the Postal Service. What else is government? Fire departments. I mean, you could even like reform the police into this system so that they were actually useful instead of revenuers. Um, sorry, guys.
So you said
But
one loan. When you say one loan, exactly, is this an interest-free loan? Like
yeah,
what?
one interest-free loan, like a freebie, like all the rest of your loans when you're buying others, you have to deal with the banks for that. But as part of what you get for your diploma, right? So you can go be an entrepreneur because maybe you have family, maybe you already have a job, maybe you already have a hookup for construction or whatever, or you can go to school and maybe you don't have the money to go to the private school like I was kind of referring to earlier. So you can get the loan, but instead of these student loans like we have now, where you stop paying, like the interest never goes away, right? It just and sometimes I've seen people where they're paying a monthly amount, but their debt kept going up over the years,
Mm-hmm.
and they've actually paid. They probably some people have like paid the amount, the principal of the loan twice. And so what I'm saying is like simple solution to one of these huge social issues that everybody bitches about, and they use it they use to kind of prod us and poke us either direction and get mad at each other. It's like, why don't just, you know if you want to go to school and you need to do a loan to do it, you should get one, since your intention is to better your life, right? And increase your education. You get one loan, and then that way too, uh fuck, that degree didn't work out, um, and you're going off in life and you still have to pay that off instead of interest accruing, whatever, um, or even trying to default it and take care of it through taxes or whatever later. Um, you you can just pay it off. Like you can have, like, because fuck, we got the internet, right? You just put your social security number in, and like, I've got $2, like I'm just gonna pay because it's gonna make me feel I'm gonna pay $2 for it, and eventually you just pay it off, because then it's like, I paid one of my loans off. I did that, and it was the student loan. I don't, just
What is
uh,
your view on student forgiveness? And do you think that that could apply to certain professions? Like, for instance, I'm an educator. I've been an educator for over
yeah,
16 years. Would I qualify for loan forgiveness since I view it as a public service I'm already giving to people? But a lot of
yeah.
people don't view it
There
that
would
way.
be there would have to be some minds to kind of, because my idea, because I would want to get rid of as much interest as people, like the interest that's left over now for the people that have interest now. I'd want to get rid of as much of it as possible, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, some people will just have to absorb it on their own merit. I mean, it's just the way life is. But if we get a team of people, create like a team of people within the bureaucracy somewhere, to where they can eliminate as much of that interest as, like, okay, this person's actually paid the principal twice. We can definitely just write off all the rest of this interest because it's not even real, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
let's just suspend our disbelief, right? That money is fake, and just kind of like work with it a little, like, and then put the band-aid back over, because who cares? We're humans. That's how I think. you know um I could rant about money in some abstract ways for a while. uh, uh, uh
I have a question for you. I don't want to cut you off, but I have a hypothetical question. And this is a hypothetical. I like to ask more practical based questions, but I have to get this hypothetical in since we're on the topic of student loans. My dad came on episode 100, and he alluded to student loan debt and the crisis. And he says that, and a lot of people I've heard say this, that if other things were in order, I don't even think that the student loan talk will even be a thing. I think we'd be able to forgive all the student loans if our money wasn't going towards so many destructive industries like
yeah,
dropping bombs on people and stuff. Like, there's so much wasteful spending in the government that it's like, I think in an ideal world, we could maybe have more realistic talks about attacking student loans and medical debt, just all types of things like that that really affect people.
Yeah, like this was cracking me up because you remind me of this. So like they modified the site. So I've seen on the news lately Biden talking about, oh, the deficit's a little lower than it was a few months ago.
Oh,
Well, that's
really?
because they're using this right here. It's the U.S. federal budget deficit official. So last time I did the show, it was about 1.9 trillion. Yeah, that's what that is. Um, and so here it is. They're announcing it as 1.8 trillion. So this is usdebtclock.org. So this is a .org site. This is right in front of everyone's face, but nobody knows what it is because it's a dry PBS channel. Um, they're telling you, oh, it's down, and it's like, no, actually, the actual deficit is still 1.9 trillion, and
And
that's how much it's going up.
why does it say actual? Why is that? Why are there two different things on there? If one's the actual and one, why are they using that other figure?
The official figure is totally smoke and mirrors. Just
Oh, the official figure is basically just like bullshit.
yeah, the actual is the actual. Like,
Hmm.
and this was the number that's been there, because I check in here, figure
And
out
what's the other number to the left of the one where the actual amount is? What's to the left of that? What does that say? U.S. federal?
that's the spending.
Okay.
So here's the deficit and there's the spending, right? So there's the tax revenue, right? Okay, so this is perfect. You get your tax revenue, that's 4.7 trillion, but your spending is 6.6 trillion. And that works out to about 1.9 trillion, you know, with all
Hmm.
these other numbers. And just right there, but it's really boring, dude. Like, I don't want to fucking look at this shit.
That's not boring at all. I mean,
What's that shit say though, man? Like, it's
that's
just
pretty
numbers,
scary,
man.
man. It's pretty scary, honestly, because and see that leads to another philosophical cycle. Is one of these questions where we know that the debt is never going to be paid off. I mean,
Oh yeah.
it just isn't. I mean, whoever says that they're going to do it is just lying.
Yeah.
So
Well,
my question for you,
this is one
um,
of my favorite, like, haha, like this is the most obvious thing in the world. Like, why are we doing this? Interest on debt, net. Like, so that's the interest. Like your interest is causing, like, we're barely paying the interest with all this, right? But all this tax revenue right here, instead of like this defense and war stuff needs to be coming home, right? And this Medicare and Social Security. So this is the thing. Like, Medicare and Social Security need to be for everybody. The system's already in place. We shouldn't be asking for, oh, Medicare for all. It's already here. It's right here. We've got it. And there's your Social Security. It's already right here. So what are we doing with it? Why are we asking for secondary welfare programs, right? And secondary healthcare programs. And then why are we making it law so that if you don't have insurance, you get fined? That's extortion. That's unconstitutional. Uh, right? Because
so where's that money going? Where's
we
that money
already,
going right there?
hopefully to us, but I mean, we're in so much debt. Even if it was, it's really not.
Oh wow.
Right? you know, um, I mean, and because this keeps going up, this right here, the national debt keeps going up.
Okay, so my question for you, as president, how would you approach the debt? Because you always hear people make comments about the debt ceiling and all this stuff. How should the average American view the debt? Like, how should we react to these types of figures?
Um, I mean, honestly, the biggest thing would be just to be like, hey, show me what you're doing with this money. Show me who's getting this money. Instead of sending my son to Afghanistan to die, how about we, like, ironically, go have him fix the bridge in Maryland, right?
Right.
Uh, um, so yeah, I mean, and there's so many. I know the interstate system, like a lot of that stuff's on like a 50-year cycle. All throughout the country, there are interstates, that bridges that are all behind on their maintenance or their upkeep or whatever kind of cycle. And I mean, I remember maybe 10 years. They fall out in Washington occasionally. Bridges, they're just little concrete ones or whatever. But I mean, this all stuff that we could be using this tax revenue to take care of, because that's what people want. I don't think people don't want more taxes. They'd like less taxes, but as long as their taxes are doing what they want it to do, which is running the bureaucracy and fixing the roads and not extorting them, then they're happy, right? Like that's what we want. So like my idea, like I want a minimalist government. So in that way, that's where when I'm in a left-sided room, they think I'm a righty, and when I'm in a right-sided room, they think I'm a lefty. I'm one of those people. It's fun though because I get to hang out with the hippies and the cowboys. So
No, I definitely think you have appeal, no doubt. That's why I'm a little confused by some of the comments I've gotten in the past about. I guess people are like that when they can't pinpoint you down, they get a little bit insecure, and that's on them, personally.
well,
But
I'm someone you have to talk to too. So that's the other thing. I'm kind of quiet, you know.
that's fine. That's totally fine. Um, as far as this is concerned, I may link that into the episode description because this
Yeah.
author means a lot to you. You use this quite a bit. I think every time we've had a show, we've alluded to the debt clock. So I'm definitely going to link this in the episode description. I think it's noteworthy enough for the audience to give it a look.
And
Um,
there's other stuff on it. There's other stuff on it that references some of the history behind the banking and the Federal Reserve and stuff.
mhm.
Um, but you can find that other places. I'll pop this up real quick. There's this movie here that was made. 'Cause I know that these guys would love me to plug this for free because that was the whole point. Some of the characters are a little outdated because it was made probably like 10 years ago now. It's called The Collapse of the American Dream.
Okay.
Um, and it is, I mean, you could show this to a sixth through eighth grader and they would understand why the world or why the banking system is messed up. But anyway, yeah, there it is. There's the name. The Collapse of the American Dream.
It's
Yeah,
put in
13,
animation.
10 million views. I'm glad it's up to 10. I remember when we watched it. We were watching it we were watching it in the shop in the Navy. It was a bunch of petty officers who were short timing. and and this guy comes in and he's like, dude, have you guys seen this? And I was like, and he started showing it to us. I was like, oh, I've seen this, and I've seen like other versions of this, this information. But then I remember like this chief, which is a little higher enlisted guy, comes in and he pokes his head and he goes, what you guys doing? And then he sees like it's in the middle of one of the cool parts, I'll say. And he's like, oh yeah, cool guys, and he just walks out. It was funny.
As far as we have a couple minutes left. I want you to go to your site again and show us anything that you think is noteworthy enough to show us that we haven't seen, because I know the last episode 68, not the presidential forum, we talked a lot about the Federal Reserve. We talked a lot about spending, monetary policy. We talked about the Geneva Conventions and the International Criminal Court and the military justice, that type of realm. But is there anything else that you added? Because I know you said Overton Window student loans, and what else have you added to the site since then? Since we
Added, I
last
don't
spoke.
know, but I definitely would like to mention
Okay.
this man here, General Smedley Butler,
Mm-hmm.
Major General Smedley Butler. He wrote the book War is a Racket, and I think it's when you get into literature, it took me 45 minutes to read, and I think I'm a slow reader. He says a lot of things that kind of back how I would run military and government. Um, and so he talked about the military industrial complex before Eisenhower did.
And what time period is this?
So Major General Smedley Butler was the book War is a Racket. The book War is a Racket was between World War I and World War II. So we went
Okay.
into World War II even after he said all these things. One of the things that I agree with, yeah, there are two things we should fight for. One is the defense of our homes, and the other is the Bill of Rights. Like that's his idea. That's kind of my idea of what the military's for, right? You defend the home if someone attacks, and you defend the Bill of Rights, because in the United States you really do. Whether you, the fact that you can complain about it is one of the rights that you have. So I guess keep complaining. Um, and he talks about how it's right here, World War One, a mere handful garnered profits of conflict. 21,000 new millionaires and billionaires were made in the United States during World War One. You know, and it goes on, blah blah blah. How many books, blah blah. Another thing he says, I don't know if I have the quote up here or not, because I was talking about there's modern money mechanics. It's actually just how, this is on the welcome page. But modern money mechanics is actually just like the dry, how fractional reserve banking works, and how the borrowing from a central bank stacks, and then how the banks below the bank can borrow from those banks. And like,
Mm-hmm.
if you're a math nerd, you love it. Yeah, there he is. Hi, General. He's definitely an icon for, I would say, new world thinking, but not the mainstream scary new world order, but like the people that actually are going to be left behind when all the dummies eat each other.
Yes, we talked a lot about fractional reserve banking in episode 68. I know we alluded to the art of war. We got into an interesting back and forth about anarchy. that
Yeah.
was that got quite a bit of reaction. I actually shared a clip with that. That's the reason why I made it a clip, because
Yeah.
it got a lot of reaction. But it
What?
was cool. The martial art, or the martial law versus the anarchy, the
Yeah.
whole back and forth
Right.
we
So
had.
like the goal is like you wish you would like there's going to be billions and millions of people, but you wish people could govern themselves. So ultimately, for me, the idea is to get as close to that anarchy while still having a support system for each other, as possible. That's
And,
and
and you know what? Taking time to think about that more,
Yeah,
it makes it makes more sense because I understand you more. But
yeah,
see, I think it would be conditional. It would have to be if they knew you, like where you were coming from, because
right.
when people hear
Yeah,
martial law, it's like a
I'm not,
very
yeah,
scary.
I'm not saying, oh, I'm going to come out and I'm going to declare martial law and
Right,
I'm going to,
exactly.
like, not in a scary sense. No, no, I'm just taking from those ideas. And because, I had a civilian contractor in the Navy. We were talking about liberalism and conservatism one time, and I told him, I said, look, man, it all just comes back around to anarchy or fascism, right? Either or. Um, and we debated about this for a long time. And then he stopped and realized, he's like, oh, I get it. You're just painting with a bigger brush. I'm looking at a wider lens here. I'm not I'm not even some of the things I say, I'm not necessarily endorsing. I'm just saying them
Mm-hmm.
because, I'm a little unfiltered. And that's how that works. So, but as far as war, these are really interesting quotes from The Art of War in the second chapter that I think are important and relevant to like the debt. Um, and so that's why I made this page. I don't have any of the memes yet, but I know what page to go to, the memes that are related to this. I thought it's this one. But anyway, um, so I asked the question, if war is so great for our economy, then why are we in so much debt? Right. And then here we have, there is no instance of a nation having benefited from prolonged warfare. That's right out of The Art of War. Actually, all these
Mm-hmm.
next ones are. When you engage in actual fighting, if victory is long in coming, then men's weapons will grow dull, their ardor will be damped. If you lay siege to a town, you will exhaust your strength, right? You gotta be careful of your resources, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now, when your weapons are dulled, your ardor's dampened, your strength exhausted, your treasure is spent, other chieftains will spring up and take advantage of you because you are at extremity, right? then no man, however wise, will be able to avert the consequences, right? You just get your ass kicked. Um, Poverty of the state, I'm not even sure how to say that word right. Nerd. Okay. Causes an army to be maintained by contributions from a distance. That's like our taxes. That's why I bolded this.
Mhm.
Contributing to maintain an army at distance causes the people to be impoverished. So, like, there's a lot of poverty in the United States in the last 20 years, and it's gotten worse and worse. And what started after 9/11? All these stupid wars against terrorism, which is just an idea.
Mhm.
It's not even a real, like, oh, we're in Iraq. Oh, we're in Afghanistan. Oh, we're like, oh, where are we? Oh, we're where the poppy fields are. Oh, we're where the oil is. Oh, we're where the poppy fields are. Oh, we're where the oil is.
It's
Oh,
just
we're
a
where.
theater. Is the Middle
Yeah,
Eastern theater.
it's a joke. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, and as long as they keep toppling governments there, the laws allow them to be at war, right? If
Mhm.
the government establishes itself, then all of a sudden that government has a right to the Geneva Convention, right? So if you just keep toppling governments, and you get your buddies at Russia to help, yeah, yeah. Oh, are we all against each other or are we with each other? See, like this whole economy thing is fucked up. The war economy doesn't make sense. It's well, it makes sense, but it makes dollars. It doesn't make sense. That's the okay. And so anyway, with loss of substance, exhaustion of strength, the homes of the people are stripped bare. 3/10 of their income is dissipated. We pay about 3/10 of our income, while the government expenses for broken chariots, worn out horses, breastplates, helmets, bows, arrows, spears. I mean, if you've seen any of our guns, all this stuff will amount to 4/10 of our total revenue, like our taxes, right? Our tax revenue. That's, I mean, I worked on F-18s and P-3s, and there are some very old airplanes in the United States Navy. And it's just, I mean, it's just so funny. Like some of the stuff, like they're gonna sell, they're gonna sell F-16s to Ukraine so they can just get shot out of the sky because they're all worn out.
Mhm.
But they don't care because they're making money off of it. They just sold that plane. It's like when a car gets repossessed, right? Like that plane, that jet belongs to like 3 or 4 American squadrons, and then they get like 2 or 3 that are kind of like junked up, and they put them together, and they sell them to Ukraine, but we pay for that with our tax dollars. Well, they just make the profit off of selling it. Like they fix it with our tax dollars, right? They develop it with our tax dollars. They produce it with our tax dollars. They pay their employees with our tax dollars. Um, and then they avoid taxes themselves. It's cool. Corporate America. Neat. Okay. Anyway, yeah. And that was the end of that page. And so we'll go to First Amendment page.
We've I actually think we have to stop here because I
Okay.
have time constraints, but I
That's
was going
fine.
to say this and this is kind of a plug because honestly, we've covered the other sections already. If
Yeah.
you are very interested or if you're interested at all in Gavin Bonney's campaign, I really recommend you go back and watch episodes 37 and 68 because we cover the sections that we didn't get to cover today. Today we covered the sections that were added on at a later time.
Yeah.
Um, Very interesting website. Like I said, I think
Can you
if you
pull this one
can,
up?
if you have a
I want
sense
to.
of humor, I think you would appreciate it a little bit more. What is that?
It's on the
Raytheon,
First Amendment page. Yeah. Yeah.
Lockheed Martin, and what's the other one?
Yeah. So that's Northrop Grumman,
Northrop
Raytheon, Lockheed
Grumman. Yeah.
Martin. Yeah, and they're teenagers, or they're betting money on these 2 lobsters that are fighting to the death. And the 2 lobsters that are fighting to the death are American teenagers and Russian teenagers.
Oh wow,
It's
wow.
yeah, because that
Halliburton.
that that's what the world wants to see, apparently, which seems silly to me. I think that the United States and Russia should be friends because we have so many resources and we have so much intelligence. You're talking about 2 countries that have the 2 of the most prolific space programs in the world. I mean, China's the only other one that's close to us and Russia. Like that's like to me that seems like the thing to do. Like work with China and Russia to take babysit everybody else because everybody else all they're doing is bitching and asking us to build weapons and kill them, and then they get mad at us and they're like, oh, you didn't kill the right guys, and then Russia's like, we want to sell weapons too. We're like, ha, ha. And then China's like, you guys are kind of dumb for doing this, but then we're kind of like in the Pacific like, this is what we do. Just dumb. So
I think I think and I'll give you like a final minute or so. if you want to plug in somebody, plug in something, if you want to give a shout out, if you have any final words for my audience or whatever. And I just want to say thanks again for having this important conversation, this episode 114. And we will more than likely have you back on before November 2024 comes around. But I just want you to give a last minute or so to give your final words.
Well, one thing I wanted to share a couple other YouTube channels that I think are kind of up your alley, and in recent years for me have been good ways for me to, like, if I'm trying to explain something, just watch this instead, because they have more direction than I do, because I'm very open, I'm free, hey, I just want to make things happy and then dance off into the sunset. So this is The Minds of Men. It's about MK Ultra and psychology
Mm-hmm.
programs through the United States and different sources. It's 3.5 hours long. It's by Truth Stream Media. There you go. These guys are great.
Make sure
I
you
love them.
send these links to me so I can put it in the episode description. Send all these links that you're sharing with us now,
Yeah,
and then I
yeah,
can
I
just
can.
put them in the episode description.
Yeah, but this particular documentary, I think, is a must, especially if you're an open-minded thinker, a conspiracy-minded thinker, whatever. This is a lot of people are just psychology fanatics. This is an amazing documentary, and I went through, and it took me a couple days to watch it, because I went through and Googled everything as it would, and it's all real. And it's called The Minds of Men, by Aaron and Melissa Dykes, True Stream Media. It's wonderful.
Okay,
Wonderful documentary. It's very long though. But
that's fine. That's fine.
it's about the battle for the minds of men. And then another channel, I think it's European based. They have a lot. There's some stuff that is a little bit too much one way for me, but most of it is just amazing, because the way they question authority. It's in Endeavor, ENDVR. Um, I think that these are channels that Americans should be seeing. I mean, because they go over everything. And it's
Oh
really well
wow.
done. It's like TV quality documentaries. Um, and they've gone through, they touched a lot of things that if you were to talk to me for hours and hours, you would find stuff that's from these, and you run into Julian Assange and
Wow. That's I see all
highlight
that's
cases.
really
Yeah.
interesting stuff, man.
Yeah. I just, and so, like, I have all kinds of different YouTube algorithms. Um, and yeah, this is one of the channels that I have saved on on a particular profile. Uh, I like it a lot. Anyway, plugging people for free. I need to plug me. You guys should give me money. Hold on. Let me see if I can find my thing. I only have Venmo right now. Come on, guys.
Bring my
Uh,
Bonnie for prez.com.
yeah, bring back my Bonnie for prez.com. Play on my last name and that cool old sailor song, because I'm a sailor. Let's see. I wanted to find contributions. So you can Venmo me at Bonnie for President, and actually that's separate from my personal Venmo, so I'll know if you donate specifically for president stuff. I actually do have a lot of, like, t-shirt ideas and even, like, content ideas, but I keep having life issues and can barely eat myself, so it is what it is. I need to ask for money. So if people got money, I mean, if people want to donate, people wanted to contact me on Twitter and donate materials, even I wouldn't be against that. If people who know how to work social media better, how to post things. I know I can be a little bit abrasive when I get into lively debates with people. So if there's anybody out there that would be like, hey, I can help you be a little more tactful and run your social media, I'm open to interviewing people for that. Um, because it's going to take a team effort no matter what. But there's still time, oddly enough. There's still time.
Mr. Gavin Bonney, I appreciate you coming onto the show again today, episode 114. People, go check out his website, bring back my Bonnie for prez.com. Um, give him some contributions. You have his Venmo information right there. Go back and watch his episodes 37, 68, and also the presidential forum, which is technically episode 82. I don't know if he's been interviewed by anyone else. I know I was intrigued by his site, and I reached out to him. And I think it's really important to not only support independent candidates, but support independent media. Um, of course, I'm going to plug in yours truly, Kiko's Free Thinkers Forum. It doesn't cost you a dime to subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's where we are right now, a YouTube channel. Tell your interested friends and family. Um, I don't want any of your money. I don't want any of your dimes, just a little bit of your time to expand your mind. And remember, you can't unthink free thought. And I just want to say thanks again, Mr. Bonney, for coming down to the show. And we'll probably meet down the road. And I do want to say one last thing, and I really have to go, that Gavin does a great job of communicating when you send him like communication, like messages and stuff. And that's more than I can say for a lot of people who I keep in touch with. Some of the people running for office, I don't know if it's the campaign team or what, the media team. There's just not any kind of I don't know. There's just a lack of transparency, communication, transparency. I've
Maybe
alluded to a
personality.
few of these people. I'm not going to single them out anymore. If you follow the forum, you know I've already made a couple of, I don't know if the jabs of people or what, but just simply, I just think it's a little frustrating when you're sending out an interview request and people don't even take the time to respond, or better yet, they ghost you after they do make initial contact with you. I just don't know what goes into that, especially with someone who's interested in your campaign wanted to interview you to bring more eyes onto your product and to your campaign. I don't understand it, but like I said, I've had to learn that being in the social media landscape this brief amount of time that I've been in here. But I just want to say again, independent media, independent candidates, give them a consideration. I don't think you can really go wrong. If what you've tried up until this point is not working, give something else a try. That would be my last word of advice to people. Enjoy the rest of your day, and cheers, beautiful people.